Love itself is sometimes a difficult emotion to deal with, and a lot of the time we aren't very good at it. The news is full of stories of those of us who don't get it right. In fact, some that get it horribly wrong. Maybe that's why the Bible gives us such a clear-cut description of what love should and shouldn't be in 1 Corinthians 13. The first thing we need to understand is exactly what kind of love we're talking about. There are any number of definitions for the word love, but we're going to talk about the love of 1 Corinthians, which is translated from the word agape. In Greek, there are three kinds of love. The first being philia, which is more like the love of friendship, comradeship, non-sexual love. The second being eros, which is a sexual love. And the last, probably the most important of the three, is agape. Agape is not just any old love. It is the sort of love that God has for us, and in turn the love that we should have for God. If you take that one step further, taking the two greatest commandments from Mark 12, verses 29 through 31 into consideration, it is also the love that we should have for our fellow man. Suffice it to say, God thinks this love thing is pretty important.
Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love, it profits me nothing.
It doesn't matter what we can do, how wise we are, or what we say. It doesn't matter that we give all our possessions to the poor. Without love, it is all for naught. It means nothing. It says to me that without love, we are nothing. So we know that it is important. But just what is it, and what should it be?
Love suffers long and is kind. Love envies not. Love vaunts not itself, is not puffed up, does not behave itself rudely, seeks not her own, is not easily provoked, keeps no records of evil, rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things.
This all seems like this love thing might be a little difficult to achieve. These 4 verses spell out a pretty tall order. It might seem what's called for here is perfection, and we all know how many of us are perfect. By the amount of domestic violence, obsessive relationships, and what I've always heard described as graveyard love in this world, maybe we should teach this chapter more. Maybe our children should hear a lot more about this love thing. So maybe we can't be perfect, but if we are given a map or shown a signpost on how to get there, we just might be able to come close. I believe that's what 1 Corinthians 13 verses 4 through 7 does. It gives us a map showing us the way to perfection in love. Follow the map and you'll get closer to your destination every day. So even if you never find a love of perfection, you'll certainly be in the right neighborhood. I can make you a promise about 1 Corinthians 13, especially verses 4 through 7. If we use these verses as a roadmap to our everyday relationships, our relationships with our families, our relationships with our spouses, our relationships with our fellow man would be vastly different. If we dumped our ego, if we stopped keeping score, if we conducted relationships with others in a calmer, kinder, more forgiving manner, we would be amazed at how much more we would cherish those we love, and we would be amazed at how much more we would be cherished by those who love us. Chapter 13 goes on to tell us just how strong, permanent, and infallible this sort of love can be. Things we believe in may eventually fail. Prophecies shall fail. Tongues shall cease. Knowledge shall vanish. But love never fails. Usually, we fail it.
Love never fails. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part.
Then it tells us that there will come a time that perfection will come. But I don't think that that necessarily means perfection in us. I think maybe that means that He who is perfect will come. And at that time, all these things that we do in part, imperfectly, will cease.
But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away.
And could verse 11 be telling us that there will come a time that we will grow in our love so much that it will be as if a child has grown into a man?
When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
And then verse 12 reminds us that there is so much we can't see. We don't know, but there will come a time when all of the mysteries will be revealed.
For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known.
I always find verse 13 so interesting and puzzling. It reveals just how important this love thing is to God.
And now abides faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love.
Love is greater than hope? We can survive without hope as long as we have love? I guess so. Now for the real surprise, love is greater than faith. God is telling us that having love is greater than having faith. Stop and think about that for a second. God, who certainly puts great weight in our faith, is telling us that love is even more important. All of this came as quite a surprise to me when I actually read the words and thought about what they might mean. But then it dawned on me, if you have love, the agape kind of love, the rest pretty much falls into place. If you love God with agape love, as He loves you, then you will have your faith and your trust. If you love your fellow man with this sort of love, you would wish him no harm, and isn't that a very large part of Jesus' message? If you can attain anything close to this kind of love in your life, then you shouldn't ever be tempted to break any of the 10 Commandments. When you turn 1 Corinthians 13 around in your hands and study what it says, it becomes a very important chapter of the Bible. John Wesley thought love was pretty important too. In On Perfection, he states, "This is the sum of Christian perfection. It is all comprised in that one word, love."